I'm glad my best friend got pregnant by my fiancé. She picked the one man who medically cannot have kids. I always thought the worst thing that could happen to me was infertility. Turns out the worst thing was finding out my fiancé and my best friend were willing to weaponize it. I'm 27. Or I was when this all happened. My ex-fiancé, Nolan, is 29. My ex-best friend, Harper, is 28. I'd known Harper since we were 12. We met in 7th grade because we both hated running the mile in gym, and she convinced me to fake a sprained ankle so we could sit on the grass and talk instead. She was always like that, charming, reckless, fun, in a way that usually meant someone else had to clean up afterward. Nolan was the opposite. Quiet, organized, the golden retriever of men. We met at work. He did data stuff nobody understood. I ran client accounts. He remembered everyone's coffee order and sent calendar invites for his own birthday. He was the guy managers loved because he never made waves. When we started dating, my parents were thrilled. He's stable, my mum said. Stable was her highest compliment. My dad took him golfing once and came home talking about his work ethic, like he'd just recruited him for a team. Harper called him sweet and safe, and good for you, Jade, which is code in Harper language for not my type. I honestly thought I'd won. Wild best friend, steady partner, good balance. Then we started trying for a baby. We'd been engaged for about 6 months, living together for a year when I suggested we stop using protection. I wasn't desperate. It just felt like the next step. Nolan agreed right away. I'm ready whenever you are, he said, kissing my forehead like he was in a commercial for insurance. A year went by. Nothing. At first I blamed stress, timing, the usual. Then I started tracking ovulation, temperature, apps, calendars. I became the person who knows what cycle day they're on at all times. 6 more months. Still nothing. My OB finally said very gently that maybe it was time to check Nolan too. She said it casually, like she was suggesting we try a new restaurant. Just a semen analysis, rule things out. I brought it up to him over dinner one night. He froze, fork halfway to his mouth. Why me? He asked. You're the one with the uterus. Isn't it more likely to be you? I laughed it off. It can be either, I said. Or both. It's just standard. He mulled it over for a full day before finally agreeing. Fine, he said. But this stays between us. I don't want your mom knowing my sperm count. Or Harper, he added with a little grimace. She'd make it weird. That part at least I understood. Harper had no filter. The results came back 2 weeks later. A zoospermia, 0 sperm, not low, not could be, better, 0. The urologist explained it in calm, clinical terms. Probably genetic, possibly exacerbated by a childhood infection he'd had. There were procedures we could try. Testicular biopsy to see if there were any usable sperm hiding in there. But in terms of naturally conceiving, the doctor was blunt. It's not going to happen, he said. No amount of timing or supplements is going to change this. If you want children biologically related to you, we'd be looking at donor sperm or IVF with a donor. I felt like the room shifted sideways. Nolan went completely silent on the drive home. When we got back to the apartment, he sat on the couch and stared at the wall for a long time. I'm broken, he said finally. You're not broken, I said automatically, because that's what you're supposed to say. He shook his head. I am. You should dump me. Find someone who can give you what you want. I grabbed his hands. We're getting married, I said. I want you, not just a baby. We can figure the rest out. He made me promise we wouldn't tell anyone. Not my parents, not his, not Harper. I don't want to be a pity case, he said. I don't want to be the infertile guy in every story. I promised. It hurt a little that he didn't trust my people with this, but I chalked it up to pride. Men and masculinity and all that fun socialization. We started talking about donor sperm, slowly, hypothetically. He got weird every time we got close to making a decision. I just need more time, he kept saying. I gave it to him. I wish I hadn't. The night everything blew up, we were at Harper's apartment. She'd just moved into a new place. It was exactly what you'd expect from her. Plants everywhere, neon sign on the wall, more throw pillows than functional seating. She'd invited us over for charcuterie and chaos, which is what she called any gathering where wine was involved. It was a normal Friday. I'd brought a bottle of wine, Nolan had brought his laptop because he just had to finish one tiny thing for work, and Harper had brought herself in a dress that made strangers stare. Halfway through the night, she topped off our glasses and said, Okay, I have something to tell you, but you have to promise not to freak out. I immediately prepared to hear about a tattoo or a new guy. With Harper. Don't freak out usually meant, I bought a plane ticket for tomorrow. Okay, I said, no freaking out. She looked at me, then at Nolan, then back at me. Her eyes were a little too bright. I'm pregnant, she said. For a second, I didn't understand the sentence. I laughed. Shut up. I'm serious, she said. I'm 8 weeks. Joy hit me first before anything else. It was automatic Pavlovian. My best friend was pregnant. With the thing I wanted so badly, my teeth hurt. Harper, I said, grabbing her hand. Oh my God, whose? That's when she dropped her gaze. Nolan had gone very still next to me. She took a breath. That's the part where you're going to freak out, she said. It's Nolan's. The room tilted. I felt, very clearly, my brain tried to reject it on 2 levels at once. Level 1, my fiancé cheated on me with my best friend. Level 2, my medically infertile fiancé impregnated my best friend. My first reaction was stupid. I laughed again. No, I said, come on. That's not funny. Harper's eyes filled with tears. I'm not joking, Jade. She's not, Nolan said quietly. I turned to look at him. He wasn't looking at me. He was staring at the coffee table. Something in my chest cracked. You slept with her? I said. He flinched, but he nodded. Once, he said quickly. It was a mistake. Harper made a small scoffing sound. More than once, she said under her breath. Nolan shot her a look. I mean, it was a mistake every time. Heat flooded my face. My ears were ringing. How long? I asked. Jade, please, Harper said. This isn't... How long? I repeated. Nolan ran a hand through his hair. A few months, he muttered. It happened. We didn't plan it. Harper sniffed. You came onto me first, she said. He glared at her. You kissed me. I held up my hand. Stop, I said. I don't care who leaned in first. I care that you both did this at all. Harper reached for me. Jade, listen. I know this is awful, but maybe... I pulled my hand back like she was on fire. You're pregnant, I said, with his baby. She nodded, tears spilling over now. I took 3 tests, all positive. I went to the clinic yesterday. They confirmed it. I want to keep it. Nolan finally looked at me. I'm so sorry, he said. I never wanted to hurt you. I stared at him. You've been sleeping with my best friend, got her pregnant. And your opener is that you never wanted to hurt me, I said. My voice sounded almost calm. It scared me. We didn't expect this, he said. It just happened. Stuff doesn't just happen that many times, I said. You make choices. Silence stretched. Then Harper said, very softly, we want to do the right thing. For a second, I truly didn't understand what she meant. Then I did. No, I said. We were thinking, she rushed on. Maybe you and Nolan could still get married and we could all raise the baby together. Or maybe... Nolan cut in. I think I should be with the mother of my child, he said. It's the responsible thing. But we wanted to talk to you first. We don't want you to feel blindsided. I stared at him. You think I won't feel blindsided if you leave me for my pregnant best friend because it's responsible? I asked. He winced. I know it sounds bad. It is bad, I said. Harper started crying harder. I don't want to lose you, she sobbed. You're my sister. Stop calling me that, I said sharply. She flinched. Somewhere in the back of my mind, another part of me was screaming something else entirely. Nolan can't get anyone pregnant. His urologist had said 0. Not low. 0. The logical explanation should have been horrifying. He'd lied about his infertility. Maybe the test had been wrong. Maybe he'd done something about it without telling me. But the rest of him, the panic, the way his leg bounced, the way his hands shook, felt like a man who still believed he was infertile, who had convinced himself the impossible had happened, or more likely, had decided not to think too hard as long as the story gave him an exit. I stood up. I need to go, I said. Jade, wait, Harper begged. Please, we can figure this out together. We can be a family. I laughed once, sharp. You two already are, I said. Congratulations. I left before either of them could follow. I went home to the apartment Nolan and I shared, walked into the bedroom, opened the closet, and pulled down the fireproof lockbox from the top shelf. Nolan thought it was for passports. It was, partly. It was also where I kept copies of anything I didn't trust him to keep track of. Rental agreements, car titles, and, crucially, medical reports, including a neatly folded letter from Dr. Patel, the urologist. Confirmed non-obstructive azoospermia. No sperm observed in multiple samples. Natural conception is not possible. I sat on the edge of the bed and read that sentence over and over. Natural conception is not possible. If Harper was actually pregnant, the baby was not Nolan's. There are lightning strike medical miracles. I'm not an idiot. People with bad prognoses sometimes beat the odds. But those miracles don't usually show up conveniently timed after a few months of cheating between two people who wanted an excuse to be together. I made an appointment with Dr. Patel the next morning. He saw me alone. Nolan had given me signed consent months ago to discuss his results for treatment planning. The doctor confirmed again that nothing had changed. There's been no additional testing since last year, he said, scrolling through the chart. No procedures, no sign of sperm in any sample we've ever taken. I'm sorry, I know this is hard. It's not as hard as it used to be, I said quietly. He gave me a confused look but nodded. I asked for a letter. Something in writing, clear, that I could show to a drunk person if I had to. He drafted one on official letterhead, more detailed this time. 0 sperm. Multiple samples. No chance of natural conception. If anyone ever wanted to argue, I had science. On the way home, I stopped at a drugstore and bought 2 pregnancy tests. Not for me, for Harper. You know that saying about never interrupting your enemy when they're making a mistake? That was the only reason I didn't immediately call them both and scream. I wanted to see how far they were willing to take this. Harper texted me nonstop for 2 days. Apologies, please. You have every right to be mad, but please don't shut me out. Nolan emailed a short, formal note about giving me space and being here to talk when you're ready. I ignored them. On the 3rd day, I texted Harper. We need to talk. My place. Tonight. No Nolan. She showed up 10 minutes early, eyes already red. She tried to hug me at the door. I stepped back. Sit, I said. She sat on the couch, wringing her hands. I miss you, she said immediately. I held up a hand. We're not doing that, I said. This isn't a rom-com where you cry, and I forgive you because we have history. Her mouth trembled. I made a mistake. You made several, I said. But we're here now because of one specific thing. She glanced down at her stomach, like she needed to remind herself it existed. I took the 2 pregnancy tests out of my pocket and set them on the coffee table. Her eyes widened. What's that? She asked, though she knew. Take them, I said. She laughed, high and nervous. I already got tested at the clinic. Great, I said. Then this won't be a problem. Why do you want me to? Because I don't trust you, I said. She flinched. Jade, come on, she said. Why would I lie about something like this? I stared at her. Really stared. Because you wanted him, I said. And you know I want a baby. You knew the one thing that would guarantee he would pick you over me was a pregnancy. You get to be the mother of his child. I get to be the barren ex. It fits your narrative. Her eyes flashed. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair, I said. Take the tests. She hesitated. Then she grabbed them, stomped into the bathroom, and slammed the door. 3 minutes later, she came out and slapped them onto the table. 2 pink positives. I swallowed. Okay. So she was pregnant. Just not with his, unless Dr. Patel had completely screwed up his entire career. I picked up the tests, looked at them, then set them back down. What now? She asked. Do you believe me? I believe you're pregnant, I said. I don't believe it's his. Her nostrils flared. You're being cruel. You're being stupid, I said. He's infertile, Harper. She went very still. What? She whispered. He has 0 sperm, I said. He's had 0 sperm since before I met him. Months ago, we did 3 separate analyses. I've spoken to his doctor twice this week. There is no physical way he got you pregnant. She stared at me. You're lying, she said. I walked to the bedroom, grabbed the lockbox, and pulled out the letter. Read it, I said, handing it to her. She scanned it, lips moving silently. Her hand started to shake. You made this, she said weakly, waving the paper. You typed this up to scare me. It came from his urologist, I said. Call the office. The number's on top. She stared at the header. Her brain looked like it was overheating. That doesn't make sense, she whispered. We slept together. I'm pregnant. Who else have you been sleeping with? I asked. Her head snapped up. No one, she said. Harper, I said. She opened her mouth, closed it, then looked away. There was that guy, she muttered. Once. Before. It was months ago. When exactly? I asked. She raked a hand through her hair. Why does it matter? Because pregnancy is math, I said. It matters, she swallowed. 10 weeks, she said finally. The doctor said I was around 10 weeks. But Nolan and I, we only started, 8 weeks ago. I sat down. So you knew when you told him it might not be his? I said. She shook her head violently. The doctor said dates can be off. A week or two either way. It's not an exact science. It doesn't matter, I said. He literally cannot get you pregnant. The science is not fuzzy on that part. She pressed the heels of her hands into her eyes. I didn't know about... She gestured to the letter. This. I just knew I was pregnant and he was... convenient. Convenient, I repeated. She dropped her hands. Do you have any idea what it's like to be single and pregnant? She snapped. To know you're going to be doing this alone? Nolan is nice. He wants a family. He has a good job. He loves you. So I thought he could love the baby too. The baby that is not his, I said. She deflated. I was going to tell him later, she whispered. After he'd committed. After everything calmed down. My skin crawled. You are talking about tricking someone into 18 years of child support, I said. That's not a later conversation. That's fraud. Her eyes filled with tears again. I didn't think you'd ever find out, she said. I laughed. I couldn't help it. You really thought a man with diagnosed infertility was never going to see a paternity test? I asked. You thought his urologist wasn't going to raise an eyebrow when you showed up with a miracle baby? She bit her lip. You weren't supposed to bring doctors into this, she muttered. That was the moment I realized something important. Harper wasn't just selfish. She was sloppy. I stood up. This conversation is over, I said. We're done. She jumped to her feet, panic flashing across her face. Don't tell him, she blurted. I blinked. Excuse me? Please, she said. Please don't tell Nolan about the other guy. He'll leave. I know he will. I can't do this alone. You should have thought of that before you detonated my life, I said. She grabbed my arm. Jade, I'm begging you, she said. We can fix this. You can still be in the baby's life. You'd be an amazing aunt. We can go back to how we were. I pulled my arm free. There's no going back to how we were, I said. You made sure of that. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Then her face hardened. If you tell him you're the one ruining his life, she said. Think about that. He's finally getting a baby, and you'd take that away from him out of spite. I almost admired the mental gymnastics. Or, I said slowly, I'd be saving him from raising another man's child under a lie. She scoffed. You've always been so righteous. And you've always been so reckless, I said. Enjoy your consequence. I didn't tell Nolan right away. I told a lawyer. I know that sounds cold, but I'd spent 3 years watching Harper barrel into situations and then cry until someone else cleaned them up. I refused to be that person again. My uncle is a family lawyer. I'd never needed him professionally before. He'd mostly just helped me decipher leases. I called him and said I needed advice about a complicated engagement situation. We met in his office 2 days later. I told him everything. The infertility, the cheating, the pregnancy, the math, the attempted baby trap. He listened without interrupting, then steepled his fingers. You're not married yet, he said. That's the best news here. I laughed once. Low bar. If you were married when the baby was born, the law in this state presumes your husband is the father, he said. You'd have a much bigger mess. As it stands, you're dealing with emotional fallout, not legal obligation. What about him? I asked. If he decides to go along with it? Then he's a fool, my uncle said bluntly. And there's not much we can do until a court gets involved. But if you want to protect him and yourself, the cleanest way is to get documentation from his doctor, get everything in writing, and tell him before any paperwork is signed or any birth certificates are filled out. He paused. And if you decide to go scorched earth, he added, you could also record her admitting the other father exists. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying if she's as sloppy as you say, think it wouldn't be hard. I thought about Harper's face when she realized the timeline didn't add up. I thought about Nolan, sitting on her couch, talking about doing the right thing, while holding a fantasy that had been dangled in front of him like a carrot. I'm not trying to ruin anyone's life, I said. I just want out. Then end the engagement, my uncle said. Return the ring if you want. Keep it if he cheated. It's technically a conditional gift, but judges hate cheaters. Cut ties. Block numbers. He leaned back. But you're not here because you just want out, he said. Or you wouldn't be asking about documentation. He wasn't wrong. Part of me could have walked away and let them implode on their own. But I'd spent a year twisting myself into knots over infertility, blaming my body, comforting Nolan, watching him hold other people's babies at parties, and go quiet. Hearing Harper say things like, I'd be such a cute mom, while I smiled through gritted teeth. Then they turned around and tried to use the one thing that hurt me most as a weapon against me. No, they didn't get to walk into a happily ever after built on a lie while I slunk away quietly. I want him to know, I said, all of it, and I want her nowhere near me again. My uncle nodded. Then tell him, he said, but do it smart, face to face, with your facts in order. I texted Nolan, we need to talk. My place, tomorrow. Alone. He responded within a minute. Of course. I'm so sorry, Jade. I'll be there. He showed up looking like he hadn't slept. Dark circles, wrinkled shirt, that scruffy thing men do when they want you to know they're too sad to shave. He tried to hug me. I stepped back. Sit, I said. He sat. First, I said, I want you to know I already spoke to Dr. Patel. He tensed. Why? He asked. Because my best friend claims to be pregnant with your child, I said. And I wanted to make sure we weren't dealing with an immaculate conception. Color drained from his face. Jade, he said, I told you. I don't know how it happened. The doctor said it was basically impossible, but... He didn't say basically, I cut in. He said not going to happen. He said no sperm. He swallowed. Sometimes doctors are wrong. I pulled the letter from my pocket and set it on the table. He's willing to testify how often he's wrong, I said. Spoiler, not on this. Nolan scanned the page, even though he'd seen it before. His hand shook. I screwed up, he said quietly. I know that. But I thought maybe... You thought maybe your miracle baby would show up in exactly the form that got you out of an engagement you were too cowardly to end, I said. He flinched. It wasn't like that, he said. I love you. I just felt trapped. You wanted a baby so badly and I couldn't give it to you, and every conversation about donors made me feel like I was being replaced. Harper was an escape. An escape that resulted in a pregnancy that cannot biologically be yours, I said. Do you hear how delusional that sounds? He ran both hands through his hair. Maybe the test was wrong, he said. Maybe something changed. Has there been a new test? I asked. Have you had a procedure? Surgery? A single follow-up? Anything? He hesitated. No, he admitted. So, nothing changed, I said, except your willingness to stick your dick where it didn't belong. He flinched again. It felt good to be wanted, he muttered. You were so focused on ovulation and temperatures and calendars. With her, it was just fun. Fun comes with consequences, I said. You're staring at one. He looked up sharply. Are you going to tell my parents? He asked. I laughed. That's your concern right now. He went quiet. I talked to Harper, I said. She admitted she slept with someone else before you. 10 weeks ago. Doctor says she's 10 weeks pregnant. You two started having fun 8 weeks ago. His mouth opened, then closed. She said dates are fuzzy, he said weakly. They are, I said. But not that fuzzy. And even if they were, your sperm count isn't. You know that. He stared at the floor. You wanted to believe it was yours, I said. Because it made you feel whole. Like you weren't broken. So you didn't ask questions. He didn't argue. I'm ending the engagement, I said. His head snapped up. Jade, please. There's nothing to talk about, I said. You cheated on me with my best friend for months. You both lied. You both tried to build a fantasy on my back. I'm not staying for this. He leaned forward, eyes desperate. We can fix it, he said. I'll cut her off. I'll block her. We can go back to donors. We'll go to therapy. No, I said. We can't fix the fact that you were willing to abandon me the second a baby dangled in front of you, even when logic screamed it wasn't yours. We can't fix the fact that you looked at my infertility and saw an excuse, not something to face with me. He sagged. So that's it, he said. That's it, I said. You can stay with her if you want. Raise that baby. Be the stand-in dad. Maybe that'll help whatever you're trying to patch over in your ego. But you're not doing it while I stand next to you, pretending this is anything but pathetic. Tears filled his eyes. I do love you, he said. I believe you, I replied. I just don't think you know how to love anyone more than your own sense of being a good guy. He didn't have an answer for that. I handed him the ring. He shook his head. Keep it, he said. Sell it. Throw it in a lake. I don't care. Good, I said, because I'm going to sell it and use the money to pay off the IVF consultation I wasted planning a future with you. He winced, but didn't argue. He left a few minutes later. No big dramatic scene. No last-minute kiss. Just a man walking away from the life he'd set on fire, clutching a fantasy that was already crumbling. Harper texted me that night. You told him. No question mark. I didn't answer. She sent another. He left. He said he needs time to process. He told me he wants a paternity test when the baby's born. I hope you're happy. I typed and deleted several responses before settling on, I'm not happy. I'm free. Then I blocked her. My parents were half horrified, half vindicated when I finally told them the story. My mom cried for me. My dad spent an entire afternoon in the garage fixing things that weren't broken because he didn't trust himself not to show up at Nolan's work. My uncle gently pushed the final set of papers across his desk. Everything's clean, he said. No, shared property, no joint accounts, no legal ties. This is the best version of a bad situation. I signed. Life got weirdly quiet after that. No Harper calling to drag me out to last-minute karaoke. No Nolan in the kitchen in the morning making his too strong coffee. Just me, my apartment. I moved. Too many ghosts. And the entire internet of strangers' stories. I stumbled onto a subreddit one night. Of course I did. Where people poured out their relationships and disasters and petty revenges. I read a story about a guy whose girlfriend stole his dog, another about a woman who found out her boyfriend was engaged to someone else, and I realized I wasn't special. I was just another person who'd loved the wrong people too hard. It was comforting, in a weird way. 2 months later, Nolan emailed me. Subject line, update. I hovered over it for a full minute before opening it. He kept it short. He'd had another semen analysis done. Still 0 sperm. He attached the result in case I ever doubted myself. I hadn't. He'd confronted Harper with the lab work. She'd finally admitted the truth. They were no longer together. I'm sorry, he wrote, for everything. You didn't deserve any of this. I hope you find someone better than me. It won't be hard. He added a postscript. Thank you for telling me, even though you didn't owe me that kindness. I stared at that line for a long time. It didn't feel like kindness. It felt like a necessary cruelty. But maybe those are sometimes the same thing. A week later, Harper's sister DM'd me on Instagram. She moved back in with our parents, she wrote. She's keeping the baby. She told them Nolan abandoned her. I told them the truth. They didn't take it well. She's mad at you, but honestly, she's mad at herself. I typed back, I hope the baby has a better mum than we had a friend. I didn't send it. Instead, I wrote, I hope the baby is loved. None of this is his or her fault. Then I locked my phone and went to my first therapy appointment. Here's the part where I'm supposed to say I'm grateful for all of it, that I learned and grew and found myself. I did, eventually. But I'm not going to pretend that was my first reaction. At first I was just angry. Angry that infertility had broken me open only for the people closest to me to pour salt inside. Angry that the words, I'm pregnant, had been used as a threat, not a joy. But the longer I sat with it, the more something else settled in. Relief. Relief that I hadn't married a man who would toss me aside the second a lie offered him an easier story. Relief that I hadn't had a child with someone who thinks doing the right thing is something you do after you cheat, not before. Relief that I'd seen exactly who Harper was before I spent the next decade explaining to my hypothetical kids why Aunt Harper broke every promise she ever made. So, no, I didn't lose a fiancé and a best friend. I lost 2 people who saw my deepest wound and chose to poke it for their own benefit. I gain my own life back, and if I ever do end up with a baby, by whatever means, I will be able to look at them and say, truthfully, I didn't let anyone treat your existence like a convenient excuse. I waited for the people who chose us honestly. So yeah, I'm glad my best friend got pregnant by my fiancé. She handed me the red flag I'd been trying to fold into a white one.